Hey, what's up, guys? All two of you. It's gonna be an outside video today because we got this little guy been cooped up in the house a little bit too much. I want to give him some exercise. I don't like it when people have dogs and don't really want to do anything with them. They just kind of like get a dog and treat him like a ornament in the house. I don't know, if you get a dog, it should be your friend, right? And friends can fucking do shit together. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about perceptions. Because that's something that is kind of near and dear to me. I think perceptions should always be challenged. Which is why, I keep saying things like, image and your view on things almost never matters. Every time I have ever gone with my gut instinct about something, if I was right about it, I didn't have too many things I can point to. It was always just a lucky guess. And there's been a lot of times where I've been wrong when I was willing to make assumptions. That's why they had the old saying that an assumption makes out of ass and an ass out of you and me. And that's true. Everything that we think of, that we know about things, we don't really know. How much do you really fucking know? You know what people tell you about things, and you know what people gossip about things. And I've done this several times. When you work in a place that has a lot of gossip, you might get bored. And if you're bored, you might spread rumors just to see what happens. One of the things that I used to do was I didn't know who I could trust and who I couldn't trust. I want to know who was a blabber. So I very regularly talk to most of my coworkers, and sometimes I would volunteer a piece of information about myself that I didn't care if people really knew, but I would tell them, like, hey, just don't tell anybody about this. And then I would wait. And before you know it, more often than not, a bunch of people would come up to me knowing that same piece of information because people just gossiped. Same thing with inmates. I would lie to inmates pretty regularly about myself. I once told an inmate that I was a Russian orphan because they were trying to get like personal information out of me, and they were like trying to ask me like, where am I from? What is this? Where's that? And I was bored, and this one guy was annoying me, so I was like, I'm from Russia. And they're like, oh, did your parents move here? I'm like, oh, I don't know my parents. I was adopted. And they were like, oh. And I shit you not, for years, and even like until the day that I left, people would come up to me and be like, hey man, you Russian? I'd be like, I think so. Like, everybody's telling me you're Russian. You Russian? You KGB? One time I hurt my back, and I had nerve pain in my leg, and so like sometimes my leg would be pretty just numb, and sometimes it was in so much pain that like I kind of just was used to pain. And there's like these metal chairs, and I was walking around and I accidentally like kicked one of the chairs, like my shin like dinged it, and it made a pretty loud noise, and I just kept walking. And a guy like went up to me and he was like, how'd you do that? And I was like, my leg's fake. And I picked up my leg and I knocked on my shin. And I don't know if you know this, but like you can knock on like a very bony part of your body and make it sound pretty hollow if you wanted to. And then 2 years later, some guy comes up to me and he said, hey man, is your leg fake? I'm like, who told you that? He said, this guy told me. He said that you showed him your fake leg. Because people, like, you can manipulate people into thinking things. If you really want to take advantage of people, it's not hard to take advantage of people. It's not hard to hustle people. It's why some people are very defensive and very accusatory. And that's because it's human nature to really think about image. Like like I said, we're very visual people, right? Now, I'm not saying like, you should be willing to be like 400, 500 pounds and not care what people think ever. But there's a time and a place to care about when people think about you. And I think most of the time, it's not the place and it's not the time. And I think a lot of the time, we're willing to let our preconceptions take over our actual analysis. If you're mean to somebody, you may have ruined any future chance of that somebody ever getting to know you without a sincere apology, because nobody ever looks at each other and says, like, maybe they're just having a bad day. Only people who have had bad days, who have done that exact same thing, and who have to learn how to be patient, know that other people can just be mean because they're just having a bad day and it's not personal. Or unless you've experienced people going through that a lot. Brownie, get off the road. I don't want you to eat pancake. Sorry. But, when I was in high school, right? I never wanted to be in high school. I hated high school. I thought I hated high school. And then my mom, I had an extra class I needed to sign up for. I didn't want to fucking do anything. My mom was like, do drama. And I was like, no, that's fucking lame, Mom. I'm not doing drama. And I was a teenager, so I had my hair in my face. I was like, it's lame, Mom. Gosh. So mean to me. It was so fucking silly then. But she talked me into doing it. And I did it, and I fucking loved it. And people, the way people looked at it, and the way that people looked at me, made me realize that, like, there were things that I didn't try to do because I was worried about perceptions. I thought that things were lame, and I thought other people thought things were lame, so I just didn't do it. And then I was miserable about it because I didn't have any friends. We let so many fucking things get in the way of our perceptions. We are scared to speak up when things go wrong because we're worried about how people are going to look at us. We're worried about the consequences. We're worried about being viewed as somebody who's not a team player. We care about perception so much. I saw an Instagram post yesterday where it said, positivity is more important than competence and knowledge. And I'm like, that's not fucking true. That is not fucking true at all. If you are a doctor, I would rather you be an asshole, but really fucking know what you're talking about. Because I've had a lot of fucking doctors waste my fucking time not knowing what they were talking about, dismissing things that I was telling them that should have been signs for other diseases, or not diseases, but like back injuries. But that customer service, the image of being nice, was more important than actually giving them help that I needed. And this is what I mean when I say that, like, your image is stupid. Because we will literally care more about whether or not you're getting good customer service, whether or not we're having positive can-do attitudes in the workplace, whether or not we're having this professional image and we're making everybody think that we're, like, more competent and polite than we actually are, then just have real fucking conversations. Like, every situation I can think of where I had really good headway with somebody, where I had good conversation with somebody, it was when I was willing to, I don't want to say vulnerable, but it was when I was willing to pull the mask off a little bit and say, like, hey, I'm not going to be an officer and you're not going to be an inmate for a few minutes, and we're just going to talk this out, forget how we see each other for a few minutes, and just fucking say what we're thinking. What the fuck is bothering you? I'll tell you what the fuck's bothering me. I'll tell you how you piss me off. And I want you to tell me if I did something that pissed you off, and there's no hard feelings. And that worked a lot. But in an environment like that, it's supposed to be this uber professional relationship. It's supposed to be this, you are the authoritarian and they're supposed to do what you say. It's supposed to be a do what I say because I say it environment. And a lot of times, that's not really the right tool. And it's all about finding the right tool to solve your problems. Same thing with your life. It's finding the right tool about your life. Are you where you currently are because it's where you want to be? Do you think this is where you want to be? And you're just trying to convince yourself of that. You know, are you actually happy with your life? And if not, maybe you need to stop worrying about what people think are going to think about what you're doing, and you need to start thinking about where you want to be. Oh, I don't like my job, and I don't like my apartment, and I don't have time for anything. Okay, well, is there maybe a way that you can make a little bit of time for things that you like? Well, there is, but I'm just too tired. Okay, well, stop caring about what you think about it. Just do it. Oh, I don't like my job, and I can't really afford my bills, and I'm not happy. Okay, well, if you can't afford your bills anyway, maybe there's a job that you can find where you might be paid a little bit more. Maybe you should be considering looking for another job. Well, I don't have time. Okay, maybe take a day and look for a job. You know, maybe don't let people push you around in life to the point to where in this, what is supposed to be the freest country on earth, you feel like more of a prisoner than anybody else. People stay in jobs because people stay in jobs because they don't want the stigma. People don't move anywhere because they don't want their families to be mad at them. People will keep themselves in positions where they're not even really helping anybody else. They're just protecting their own feelings and other people's feelings. And they're letting the fear of other people's perceptions push them in life. And a lot of times those other people's perceptions of you are not there to help you. Sometimes they are. Sometimes people genuinely, will have opinions that are not nice and kind to you, where they will only have those opinions out of a place of love, like you really should be doing this because it'd be better for you. A lot of times, it's just fucking people wanting to be judgmental because they have nothing fucking better to do. And you gotta learn the difference. You have to learn about perceptions and how a lot of times they're bullshit. And you have to learn how to tell the difference between somebody who has an opinion about you because they're legitimate, and has an opinion about you because they just are somebody who can't help but have opinions about other people because they can't focus on themselves. Find your hobby, find your time like this, where you're walking and you're reflecting on your life a little bit. Find your friends that want to do things with you that maybe you were scared to do. Find your area in life where you have time for yourself to slow down and think. And don't do things just because of what you think is right. Don't worry so much about these perceptions, because it's our worry about these perceptions that keeps our standards high but our results low. Because companies, corporations, a lot of the mentality comes from this area of customer service and court liability and lawsuits and all these things, where everybody really, really, really wants to make sure that they look good. Don't do X because it can ruin your future prospects. Don't do Y because it can ruin your future prospects. And you should follow those ones, because jobs will not actually hire you if you have certain things on your record. There's certain crime on your record if you keep quitting jobs without giving 2 weeks notices, things like that. But People will also stay in jobs because they feel like they have to. Or people will not do a hobby because they think that it's not for them. Perceptions can really hurt a person. Perceptions can make it to where relationships are ruined. Perceptions can make it to where you avoid a real conversation with somebody because you're making assumptions about them without fully understanding them. If somebody is mean to you, there's usually a lot of other things that they're mad at, and it's not just you. And you have to, it starts with you avoiding making that final judgment about that person before you actually have enough time to be able to do so. It takes time to understand your situations, understand how things are and how things actually are versus how they look. Everybody knows this. Whenever you start a new job, it looks awesome on the surface, and they do everything they fucking can. The military is really fucking good at this. They will make the military sound like it's a fucking vacation, or like you just get to travel the world and it's not that fucking hard and anybody can do it. And then a lot of people join and they're like, oh shit, this is a lot fucking bigger, a lot fucking harder, and a lot more miserable than I thought it was, because these people just wanted to convince me to join. There's a reason why the grass isn't always greener, and it's because people are feeding you bullshit constantly to make themselves look good. And so they're constantly trying to convince you that your current situation is good enough, or that your current situation is good enough and there isn't anything better. You don't know at all until you try things. You don't know if something's bad for you until you actually know why it's bad for you. You don't know if something is fun or not until you've actually tried it yourself. And you don't know if a job is good for you until you've actually done it for a little bit. I don't know, that's enough rambling for one day.